Information comes at us at a higher rate these days. Things have changed since the days we discussed, debated, or otherwise discoursed either via snail mail or face-to-face. These days, in an instant, we can jump in on practically any argument as an opinionated blowhard, an insouciant and knowledgeable discusser, or somewhere in between. And we can also choose to let our identity be known or remain anonymous. Here we have the town of Twibba. Twibba has a number of cyclists. These individuals prefer not to be buzzed by cars, and they have decided they would like to see the roads widened by a mere 12 inches. Even among the many non-cyclists, this seems to be a popular proposal, so it is expected to pass easily. However, in the town of Twibba, there are a few folks who don't want the road widened. This group has a strange attachment to a common weed flower, and a few can be found along the roadway. This group would rather see the handful of weed flowers continue to exist along the side of the road rather than have wider lanes for the cyclists. This flower, also called a cloler, is numerous and generally considered to be a nuisance. Consequently, there wouldn't be much support for leaving the road as is, so the flowers can remain. This small group of cloler supporters have a silly attachment to this common flora, and they know how this would be received by the rest of the population. They're aware suggesting cyclists should continue to be buzzed by a much larger object, so a few more of these stupid little flowers can exist, won't go over well with the folks of Twibba. The flower-loving freaks need a different strategy. Instead of lobbying for their position, this small but crafty group decides to go online and take the opposite stance. That's right, the opposite. They plan to appear to support widening the road. One would think this would seal the fate of the roadside clolers. If the core base of the cloler supporters switch sides, how could a vote to widen the roads fail? Well, many times it's not what you say, it's how you say it. The cloler folks knew their people were small but would all vote to deny the widening, so that locks up about 5% of Twibba. They also knew the group of folks who were cyclists would probably overwhelmingly vote in favor of widening. Their target was the large chunk of folks who cared nothing about the cloler flower, but who were also not cyclists. The vote on the initiative drew near, and the cloler folk got to work. They went online and lobbied aggressively to widen the road. Initially, the comments were quite anodyne. Early returns suggested it was a slam dunk, 88% in favor, 7% opposed, 5% undecided. The cloler folk continued with their online activity. They increased the volume of messages, and they also gradually shifted the tone. If you aren't dumb, give widening the road an upward thumb. Cars can stray, give cyclists 2 more feet, okay? We're busy peddling, and sometimes cars be meddling. Give us the 2 feet. The strategy obviously wasn't to reinforce the opinion of widening the road. Their objective was the opposite. They figured the votes the cyclists were getting to widen the road from the non-cyclist, non-cloler folk could be flipped if they found a way to irritate that group. Make it so it isn't about the initiative, but about the proponents of one side annoying the majority who don't have a strong opinion either way on the matter. They plan to masquerade online as cyclists and methodically ramp up the hostility. The alteration of the tone in delivering the central message seemed to put off a few fence-sitters. Returns came in at 81% in favor, 11% opposed, 8% undecided. The vote was a month away. The cloler lovers kicked it into high gear. Make the street wider, or we'll push for a divider. Car drivers just push a pedal and sit on their ass. Have some respect for the cyclists you pass. To the tools who just burn through those fossil fuels, make the road bigger. The non-cyclists in Twibba began to react as expected. The support for extending the road began to drop. Responses online suggested more folks were changing their minds. They weren't flipping because of the argument's merits. Folks began to oppose the road widening just to spite the group of what they perceived to be obnoxious cyclists. A week to go, and the cloler supporters frequently jumped online to provide some snarky remarks, insolent comments, and abrasive banter. Are people stupid? Obviously, the correct choice is to widen the road. If you don't vote to widen the road, cyclists will die. That's murder. Do you support murder? This is to put us on track to make the bike area as wide as the cars. We can attract more cyclists, and then really control the roadways. On it went, and down went the support. Vote day came, and the results were 40% in favor, 42% opposed, and 18% undecided. The road stayed the same. The small, odd group of Twibberites rejoiced. The roads remained unchanged, but Twibber did not. On the surface it appeared the same, but underneath, the folks there now harbored a resentment. The cyclists resented those who were manipulated into voting against the alteration, and those non-cyclists who originally cared little about the issue now received the cyclists on the road with some disgust. Yes, the world of technology can be quite strange. Sometimes, to get a positive result, you just take your negative stance and amplify it with another negative.